Her time has expired.
Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I only wish to take a brief call in respect of this freedom camping bill and to acknowledge and support my colleague, the Minister of Conservation, Kate Wilkinson. I do want to acknowledge that Kate Wilkinson would be the most practical Minister of Conservation that department has had for more than a decade. And the practical gains that she is making for conservation are far better than some of the highbrow dreamer ideas that we saw in the years of Labour, and we on this side of the House are deeply proud of that work. Yes, this is a joint piece of work. The Minister of Local Government, the Minister for the Environment, myself, and Kate Wilkinson have worked hard on bringing this package together, as it should. That's how we operate on this side of the House. I know that that's a bit incapable. I know that Chris Carter and Ruth don't talk these days. We on this side of the House work very closely together. Look, this bill is a very pragmatic response to a real problem of freedom campers defecating in some of our most iconic spots, leaving a right mess, and this bill provides for a practical response to that. It's no good leaving every one of our councils to make their own rules when, frankly, for those 120,000 odd international tourists, they actually wouldn't know which district they are from one day to the next. That's not a criticism, that's just the nature of the international traveller, and that's why having a standardised approach between DOC and councils makes such good sense. I want to commend the provision in this bill that provides for a $200 instant fine for those that do breach the requirements for freedom camping. The Labour Party has indicated some opposition to that. Let me just say it is totally impractical to say to DOC or a council that they've got to spend $5,000 of ratepayers or taxpayers' money and trying to prosecute some tourists that may come from the other side of the world in respect of defecating in a pressured campsite. It's not practical. A $200 fine is a really sensible way of dealing it. I was surprised that Ruth Dyson took issue with the provision in this bill that says that the rental car company should be responsible for that fine in the event the visitor has done a run-up. Well, that's actually the same as speeding fines. It's the same with parking fines. Don't we care for our environment as much as for those reasons? We all know what's going to happen. You go to Australia and you get a rental car company.
Order.
They take a print on your credit card, and if you pick up a fine while you're there, it gets charged back against you. But the most important provision is this. I actually think some of the rental car companies, particularly those that have had uncontained rental vans, have not been responsible. And I think this bill will put some responsibility back on those companies to play their part in protecting the environment, and that is a good thing. This bill does protect and retain the right for New Zealand families like mine to go out and enjoy the great outdoors, and so it should. And to reassure Ruth Dyson opposite, there is nothing in this bill that will constrain the right of her and her family, or me and my family, to go to the end of the Heafy track and to be able to camp for a night before we proceed and tramp that. That is quite plain in the provisions of the bill. The last point I'd make is, just as well, the presumption, the underlying presumption in this bill is that you can camp anywhere unless a council specifically prescribes it as a non-camping area. And maybe the difference between this side of the House and Labour is that we actually trust councils. We think they're pretty common sense. Well, Ruth Dyson wants to stand up for the failure of water management. Only 10 minutes ago she was giving a speech saying she's concerned about water quality and how she can defend the track record of ECAN that after 18 years did not have a plan in place for dealing with water in that precious area of Canterbury. The last thing I want to do is I actually want to acknowledge Jackie Dean, the Member of Parliament for Otago. This is a cause that she has championed both in opposition and in government. In fact, this issue is not new. It's been around for quite a while. and Jackie has, both in caucus and in working with local authorities, been pivotal in getting this bill to this point. I know it's a particular issue in that Otago area that she represents, but that district should be very proud of the contribution she has made in bringing this practical bill to the Parliament and seeing this environmental problem dealt with. It's a good bill, and I say good on Jackie Dean and Kate Wilkinson for making this practical step for dealing with this environmental issue.